In the webinar that you're about to watch, myself and one of our enterprise account executives, Danny Durson, we talk about the holidays, why it's important to market during the holidays, why this holiday season is a little bit different, and then we also give you a real blueprint on a couple of steps on how you can be very, very intentional and a little bit different than normal in the way that you reach out to your clients or the people that need to hear from you during this holiday season. Take a look. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. How are you? I see the numbers already popping in. I'm always impressed. I think I said this last month with the people that are like on it and ready to go. I used to be really, really punctual, and then I had children, and that just like ruined all of my punctualness. So to those 130 of you that are already in here, bravo. I give you a huge round of applause. Welcome to our deep dive webinar in December. Thank you for making some time in a crazy holiday month. I'm really, really excited that you're here. So we're going to give it a few minutes to kind of just let people keep hopping in. Those of you that join us a lot know a lot of people get in here, so we want to give them time. But I will do some Q&A stuff. I already see some chats coming in. If you're in here, open the chat up, start throwing in there. Where are you joining us from? And also, I'm also curious this time of year, what holiday do you celebrate? I know there's a lot of different holidays this time of year. My family and I, we celebrate Christmas. That's the one that we do. But I would love to hear if there's anybody that celebrates Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or some of the other holidays that are out there. Would just be fun to kind of hear. So keep throwing it in and rolling it out. While you guys do that, you see some new faces here this morning that I'm really, really excited to introduce. First and foremost, we've got Kelsey Weatherford. Kelsey Weatherford's one of our tier 2 care reps here. She is going to be on Q&A. She's going to be on chat. She's going to be answering questions. Please, you guys know that the whole point of these webinars is to, of course, give you more information, but also create conversations and create some community and some atmosphere. If you've got a specific question that you need help with, please let us know. You can throw it in chat, but as you can see, chat gets a little nuts. It starts cruising, so we don't want to miss stuff. So that's really good. If you want to throw something out there, get feedback from other attendees. Our community here at BombBomb, our BombBomb family is awesome. So please have conversations in there as we're talking through stuff. Let us know what's working for you. If you've got a question really specifically that you don't want myself or Kelsey to miss, throw it in Q&A. Q&A is another option at the bottom of Zoom meetings. Most people know that now, but if you haven't been in Zoom in a while, the Q&A is really good because we can monitor that. It's a little bit slower. So if you've got a really poignant question, throw that in Q&A and we will try to make sure that we answer that as well. So Kelsey, thank you for being here to help us with this. She is a rock star. She knows everything BombBomb. So there's nothing that we can't answer. The other person that I'm really excited to get to introduce is Danny Durson. Danny, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here, Kevin.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. So I'll give a quick intro on Danny, and then I'm going to give him a second to introduce himself. But he is the reason I'm at BombBomb. He has been at BombBomb for a long time. How many years are you at now?
Just over 9.
9. Jeez Louise. So that's crazy. 9 years, which especially in BombBomb years, like for a startup company is a long time. That's OG status. So I wanted to bring Danny on, one, because I keep wanting to introduce new BombBomb people to all of you that are here, just because I think it's fun to get to know those of us that are here at the company. But also Danny is one of our enterprise account executives. He has worked as inside sales. You've had probably 7 different titles, but you've been selling the heck out of BombBomb for a lot of years. So thanks for joining us, man. Give us a quick intro on who you are, where you're from. Give us some fun info, whatever you want to say.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah. Besides being a very good friend of Kevin's and vice versa there, I grew up here in Colorado Springs. That's where I still live. Our office is right there in that building behind me. I have recorded 25,903 videos here at BombBomb. So this is not just something I sell. I always like to say, I don't just work here. I am also a customer of BombBomb. I use it all the time, and it has been super helpful for just building relationships and sales in general as well.
And my gosh, you guys, you hear me talk all the time. I'm like, I'm almost to 10,000 videos. I feel all like proud of myself. And then Danny shows up. He's got like 26,000 videos. So we like telling you guys that, not to be brag about us and feel really good, but to let you know, like Danny said, we are customers. We believe in this. We're using it. And he is using it in a very, very similar facet that a lot of you are in a sales, right? He's connecting with people. And so I think, my gosh, he's going to bring a ton of info. Thanks for being here today, Danny, because really, we're talking about this. We're talking about some holiday stuff, right? That makes sense to be able to talk through that in this time of year. But also, I wanted to take it in a little bit of a different direction. And as I brought this up with Danny, he's like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm doing some of these things already. And I think this could be really cool and really beneficial for our clients. So for those of you that may not know what you signed up for, here's what you signed up for. Here's what we're talking about. Really, it's about building connections. And we're going to talk about kind of giving you a video blueprint. So you're not just stuck going, oh, I need to connect for the holidays. I need to do this. We're going to give you some real ideas why and how you're going to do that. And I think what's really cool, here's kind of how we're going to break this down is why are the holidays important? Why is that something that people tell you time and time again? Reach out, connect. This is a great time of year to do that. We also want to talk about what's a little different about this year from past years, especially, man, 5 years ago. These last few years have been crazy. And I think that's all kind of built up to why this year is a little bit different. But then we're going to give you your video blueprint, and I've got a little gift for you that I'm going to give you at the end of the webinar as well. So before we jump into all this, because you know me, I don't like to just kill a bunch of time at the beginning. I will definitely be recording this. We will send you a recording. I think I've seen that a couple of times here. I know that's a question that comes up a ton as we're hosting these. Just know, without fail, I promise you, we will be recording this. We will send that to you, okay? So the recording will come in a couple of days here. But I also want to just throw a little poll out there. I'm going to launch this real quick of what's your favorite part about this season? Right? What do you like the most, regardless of what you celebrate? I think some aspects of this come into play this time of year. Do you love the decorations, right? With whatever holiday? Do you like the food? Do you like the people? Are traditions one of your favorite parts? The last one I just had to throw in there. We like getting stuff. I like presents, right? But I also threw one in there that's the holidays are actually kind of a tough time of year for me because I think that is a reality that we have to understand for some people, for a lot of different reasons. So take a few minutes here. We've already got 50% of people that have answered this. So I won't let it sit for too long. We'll give it about 5 more seconds to let you all get in. So give us your answers and then I'll share this with you just because I think it's fun. It's fun to get to know each other and build a little bit more community. So, all right, I'm going to end that and then I'll share those with you. So you can see, I kind of expected it would be a little bit of across the board. I love that the people, the family, friends, our community is a massive part of this. I think, that's definitely what I relate with, but you can see there, we got a couple percent that this is a harder time of year for them. And so thank you for being honest and being real with your answer on that. Danny, what's your favorite part?
Man, definitely the people, but I mean, I can't get around the cookies. My favorite kind of cookie is a big cookie. So I love like holiday cookies. Awesome. But the
Do you mean
people
literally just like a big cookie, like inside?
Yeah, that's my favorite
Not
kind of cookie. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so any cookie that's just large.
Yeah, that's it. That's all it needs to be.
All right, well, that's great. I was just like wanting to make sure I wasn't missing this a certain type of cookie or something. So,
Nope, that's it.
Well, thank you all for sharing that with us. So let's talk a little bit about, I started to dive into kind of from a marketing perspective. Why do people tell you all the time to market? Why is this the time of year? I mean, those of you, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. I think a lot of you are in the home industries, right? Real estate, mortgage, maybe insurance, maybe financial, things like that. I know when I was in real estate, I was told constantly, you've got to reach out during the holidays. You've got to touch base. You've got to do things. And we're hearing that all the time. But why? Well, let's get a little bit of a baseline here and just build some context to this. So there's a handful of reasons why, and I pulled some of this from a Forbes article. So it's from a reputable source. I'm not just making this stuff up as I go, of why these are important things. And I think it's cool to understand this, to understand why does this blueprint make sense to us. So one, emotions, right? We just looked at in the poll, there's a lot of emotions attached to this. My wife and I talk constantly about around the holidays around expectations. We all build up these big expectations of this is going to be so great. We're going to make it so fun. It's going to be the best year. Guess what? It's also can be really stressful. It can be the opposite of that if you don't plan it out right. But there is science and psychology too. When people are happier and they're feeling a lot of these emotions and the chemical stuff that's going on during the holidays, guess what? They buy more. They are more eager to buy stuff and want to do that. There's also a nostalgia element of traditions and things that come up year over year over year. So that's why a lot of, especially commercial companies and things that are selling products, those of you out there that are selling physical things, they build on that. They use that in the way that they're marketing to people. It also builds up anticipation. This is a really interesting concept I hadn't thought about more. But when our brains are anticipating something like a reward or a present or a gift, we feel greater pleasure than receiving just the reward itself. That anticipation actually is building it up more. Think about it, right? Thinking about what do you have under the tree for Christmas, especially for kids. We'll speak to those. That's almost too much for kids sometimes. That's why kids want to peek. That's why they want to look. that anticipation is there. So that's a great thing to kind of play on this time of year. Loss aversion is a really, really interesting concept, but there's a finite date to a lot of holidays. They will be done at a certain time. We can use that to build up that anticipation. The companies use this year round when it's like, oh, there's only 3 days left in the sale. Something that always drives me crazy is the emails that I get from companies that's like, this deal ends today, don't miss out. And then tomorrow I inevitably get one, still extended for 24 more hours. And you're like, oh, who would have thought, you know? So they're playing on this loss aversion thing all the time. You can't really do that with Christmas. Christmas has a date. Hanukkah has an end date. These things have end dates, but that anticipation using that timeline is a great way to market as well. And then the giving mentality. I think this is a really important one to think about as well. Reciprocity is a big element. When we receive, we also feel compelled for whatever reason to give back. Hopefully it's not guilt. Hopefully it's not the like, oh shoot. My wife pulled me a funny SNL video from a couple years ago about how when somebody gives you that gift and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't plan anything. And so you just find this like random candle that has been regifted 100 times, right? So it's a thing. People just kind of do that. But there is reciprocity. When you give to people during the season, they have a willingness and a want to give back. And that can look like a lot of different things. But if you're giving, that may look like, oh, I want to help support their business. You know, I have been wanting to have conversations about buying a home. I have been interested in X, Y, and Z. Danny, talk to me about this for you in a sales seat. Is this something you experience this time of year? Do you reach out and find some of or any of these principles at all with your sales?
I would agree with all of these. And in my opinion, kind of fitting within all this too, is that it's just low-hanging fruit of a good reason to reach out. And you know, I'm always looking for some sort of value to deliver anytime I'm reaching out to someone. You know, those clients that I've been building that relationship with for years that I just continually reach out to with value. All I need to do at this point in the season is not even actually talk about BombBomb at all, but just say, hey, I'm thankful to have a relationship with you. Happy Thanksgiving. Or I hope you've got great plans. Happy holidays. And that's it. And that helps to build the relationship. I don't need to do much more than that, but it truly is beneficial to the relationship in general for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting because those of you that have been following BombBomb for a while know that we have a book called Human-Centered Communication. I think deeper than that, this is not to push our book at all. Who cares? It's more about the concept, right? It's like we have really believed that if we're not thinking about the recipients of our communication, we're missing the beat. However, I think this time of year, a lot of people go, shoot, I'm supposed to do something right now. And we can lose sight of that. And so I love what you just said there, Danny, of simplifying it. Of going, you don't have to do anything fancy. It's just the communication. It's a really good reason to reach out, connect, and add value to somebody's life in just a simple way. Yeah.
Yeah, on a human level. And again, I would encourage you all, don't even mention anything about being a salesperson at so-and-so company or a realtor. They already know that. If you've been reaching out as a good salesperson should throughout the year regularly, they already know what you're doing. This is just the simple ability for you to reach out and be that human and say, I appreciate you. So powerful.
I think that's such an interesting point. And I'm going to bring this up as I talk about this, because I was literally going through and going like, what are the stereotypical things that just show up throughout the holidays, right? And I think to your point, Danny, of what you said of, if you have been keeping in touch the way you should throughout the year, I think that is a trigger for a lot of people, is we start to hit December and we go, oh, shoot, I haven't been doing what I should be doing all year. I'm going to go send them a mug. And that's going to make it all better, right? Or I'm going to go buy a Christmas wreath. Or my wife and I got into a huge discussion about Christmas cards this year. And that was not a personal thing of like, really? We're going to spend $300 on Christmas cards? I mean, I'm sure a lot of married couples there are laughing with this discussion too. But it's funny because I think we go, oh, we got to buy something cool. We got to do something big to make up for lost time. And you're almost saying the opposite of that. Am I hearing that right, Danny?
Absolutely. And yeah, I can understand that feeling month 12 of the year thinking, I haven't been doing what I need to, especially in this year. And man, as salespeople, we sometimes lack that consistency that we need because we're pulled in so many different directions all the time. So I can understand that feeling of like, oh, so if I make it cooler this year, if I find the gift that no one else is delivering, that's what's going to do it. And really, I would just say, there's no better time than right now to start with that simple approach, and now make sure that you continue to follow it up with value throughout the remainder of the year so that you build that relationship. But, highlighting, hey, here's my family on behalf of my family to yours. Merry Christmas. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny as we're talking about this because I think you're right. There's this incentive of like, oh, I need to be really creative. I need to do this. And all of a sudden it starts to feel really stressful. It feels like this big thing that we still have business going on. We still have that. Plus, we're buying for our families. We're doing all the holiday stuff in our personal life. And then all of a sudden it's like, I look at these and go, what do these have in common? It's like crap, I'm just going to go buy this. Right? Like, I can just go buy gift baskets that are pre-made and send those out. And
Yep,
what's
yep.
interesting is the idea, the heart of it was there. I want to do something special. I want to let people understand what they mean to me. I want to help them feel important. And the reality of sending somebody cheese and crackers or jam baskets or whatever it may be is they get it and they go, oh, cool. Yeah, it is literally
I
all
don't know who sent this to the office, but we have it.
that's so funny. Well, there you go. See? So and we look at that and I don't associate any of these things with wow, they really see me and they understand me. And I think that's something that's missed because of a lot of these pieces that we're putting into place right now. But I do think something is different this year where we have to be extremely conscious of that. I found this quote. I was starting to look at just psychology in general about what is kind of the psychology of the world. And we're going to take a little bit of a downturn. I promise we're going to pick this back up quickly. I'm not going to sit in this. But I think we have to be really aware and conscious of what people are going through right now. So this is from Lauren Munch. She's a doctor. And her quote is one of the biggest challenges to well-being in 2023 is the pervasive sense of isolation and disconnection that many people are going through, right? While this issue has been compounded by COVID-19 pandemic, it is a broader problem that existed even before that. So basically, a lot of people are feeling alone. A lot of people are feeling secluded. I'm not going to lie. I'll put myself out there. I was talking with my wife the other day of going like, I just don't feel right. I just feel like heavy. Things feel heavier right now for some reason. And I think what's scary about that is it's really hard to pinpoint what's making me feel this way. I'm bringing this up, one, to know if you are feeling that way, you're not alone. A lot of us are going through this. I pulled up stats of just some of the struggles that are going on, not just in the US, but worldwide, right? 21% of US adults are experiencing mental health conditions in 2020. That's a lot of people, 1 in 5 people. So in this room alone, we've probably got 100 people who are experiencing something like this. That math was not right, but we're close. 374 million people are experiencing anxiety disorders worldwide. This has been building for years and years and years. And there's a lot of reasons to it. I think it's different for everybody. But I wanted to just list out some things because maybe one of them hits for you. Maybe one of them gives perspective to the things around you, right? Whether it's COVID, the economy, interest rates, there's a couple wars going on worldwide. And we're not sitting here going, I'm not starting a discussion on which side is right on any of these things. What I want you to know is all of these things are playing on us and weighing on people to some degree. And then there's the pressure and the anxiety of the holidays. Then there's I got to keep up. I've got to get presents for my kids. Well, I didn't make as much this year. The economy's down. I'm paying more for groceries. There's all these things that are playing on people. And I think this has to be considered right now when we are thinking about sending things out. I hate to break it to you. A Christmas mug is not going to take somebody out of these factors. That is not the solution. Now, I love Christmas mugs. I would never complain if I got a mug. But what are we really, really wanting? We're wanting to be seen. We're wanting to understand that we're not alone in what we're going through. And I do hope to offer that to those of you that are here today to know if you're feeling it, that's okay. Like we're in this with you. We're all feeling it to some degree. But what I'm really excited about is to start to put this blueprint together because really the solution is you. And that's where video is going to come into play. And yes, you may be going, wait a second, that guy looks familiar. That handsome devil right there. Thank you, Danny, for your beautiful photos.
My least favorite picture from that photo shoot. We use them all the time, but that's awesome.
I mean, you just look so happy.
Kevin, I mean, with this transition too, if I can just say to marrying these things together around, there's nothing wrong with sending that bottle of wine or that jam or whatever that is, if it's done on purpose specifically for that individual. And it needs to be followed up with some sort of personal message explaining why potentially. I recently closed a deal with a bank that working with banks, large banks, took a lot of time. And the individual that I was working with for the longest period of time there, she and I would occasionally get on the phone together and just be like, this process is awful. This is taking so long. And we were talking about how once this is finally done, we're going to jump onto a virtual happy hour together. And so at the end, I sent her a bottle of wine, but that was it absolutely pertained to that relationship right there. And I sent her a video afterwards being like, don't open this until we can drink this together on that virtual happy hour. That is where those gifts are meaningful if they're followed up with that human touch of, I sent this to you because of this specific reason.
That's such a good point, right? To contradict what I said a minute ago, like that mug is not going to make somebody feel seen unless you have had conversations where you know they are a diehard coffee drinker, right?
Yes.
You built that relationship and that rapport and that understanding. You listened and you started to understand, oh my gosh, they love this. Here's something that can remind them every morning when they have their coffee that they've got people out here, right? That they're being supported in that. So that's thank you for bringing that up, Danny. I think that's amazing. Is this something you do this time of year before we kind of jump into the actual blueprint here? Do you send much stuff out this time of year to potential clients, past clients, or is it more communicating? I mean, I know there's no universal right or wrong one way or the other all the time, but how do you kind of look at it?
No, I sometimes get in trouble in my personal relationships for this as well, because I don't like those just obligatory times of year to send something. So no, I don't send stuff to anyone at this time. In fact, we don't even do Christmas cards. But if I end up seeing something that's like, oh man, this would be perfect for this individual, I'll get it for that person at that time. Yeah, I had a Christmas present that I gave to you a couple of years ago, Kevin. That was the beard grooming thing that made sure that Lydia, your wife, really hated it when your beard hairs ended up in the sink. So, that was the kind of thing that I wasn't planning on necessarily getting a gift, but I saw that and I was like, this has to be for this individual.
But to what we were talking about earlier, it's like we had talked about that. You knew that about us. And it was one of those things, for those of you that have ever seen it, you grip it around your neck and then suction cup it to the mirror. And it's this like huge tarp that tries to keep the hairs in or whatever.
I'm sure you use it every day.
Oh, constantly. Yeah. I actually just took it off before the webinar. I even wear it.
No doubt. No surprise.
So, yeah, it's just very, very handsome. Ironically, Danny's actually made me a mug too. We both made each other personalized mugs, ironically, on that topic for funny. It wasn't for any reason. It was in like June or something.
That's so true.
But so have fun with that. And I think that's really takes us into exactly what the heart of this is and what we want to focus on with this blueprint is I want to take a step back and a step away from you feeling like I have to do something right now. And so I'm just going to check the box. I talk about that a lot, this idea of checking the box. And I think it's the reason that I think that relates to me is I'm a big list guy. I love crossing stuff off. I love getting it done. But I remember when I was in real estate being told constantly, you've got to stay in touch with your clients every month. So I was told this all the time. So where did my brain go on that is, well, I'm really busy. I'm just going to send an email out once a month. And boom, boxes checked. Guess how many replies I ever got on that email? None. Like nobody cared about it because I wasn't doing it with the intentionality and the focus for these individual people. So I wanted to try and put together a plan. This is not a rigorous plan, but I wanted to give you some things where you can start to think about this because we've really got, my son so eloquently reminded, less than 2 weeks till Christmas. So if you are a Christmas celebrator, I mean, we're getting close on time. Now, here's a question, and we'll talk about this in a second here, Danny, but what's your philosophy on timing when it comes to sending out messages around the holidays? Is that something you think intentionally about, or is it just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about this person right now, I'm going to send them a message? What's your philosophy on that?
I only send these kinds of messages to people that I have a relationship with already. And for the most part, I understand when that might be engaged with. So I'm not going to send a video on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. No one's going to watch that because I also really want that video to be played as well, or that message to be engaged with. So I'll try and do it for the week or two following up, or if there's another fitting time for that relationship, do it then too. But always, again, just kind of keeping in mind what works best in that relationship specifically.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's an amazing note. Something I was thinking about the other day is to your point of don't send things out on the holiday, right? That is not a good method. One, they're not going to see it. We don't want to be a nuisance to people where we're dinging their phone while their kids are opening, right? If they've got alerts or whatever on their phone, they should be with the people they love at that moment. So don't interrupt their world. Now, a potentially positive becomes a negative. We don't want to have that. Also, just from a logistics standpoint, to your point, Danny, I want them to see this. Well, if I send it Christmas morning and they don't look at emails all Christmas Day, guess what happens the day or two later when they open it up? Now we're buried in that email inbox because of all the other stuff that's going out. So, be strategic with that, with kind of your plan here. And that's actually really step number one is plan things out. Start to be smart in this. I think the opposite of checking the box is going, oh, this is going to take forever. This is going to be a lot of work. That my brain, I'm realizing right now, goes to extremes. That's where I head, apparently. It's like either do one email and I'm done, or oh, this is going to take me a year and a half to do. And it doesn't have to be that, right? So how do we help ourselves avoid some of those sort of things? It's by planning. It's by actually sitting down and being strategic and planning with some of these things. Now, what are some of the things to plan? One, schedule stuff, right? You can see I've got some bullet points on this side here. This is not for you to do all of these things. It's to give you ideas. If you're a time block person, great. All you have to do right now on this webinar is time block 30 minutes tomorrow. I'm going to build out my plan for what this is going to look like for me for the next 2 weeks, right? And there's no right or wrong. You can say, I'm going to block 1 hour where I'm going to try and knock out as many, of these as I can. Or maybe you go, you know what? I'm going to block out 15 minutes every day. And I'm just going to do a few every morning and kind of do that. Or maybe if you're somebody that's going, and as you see this, you're like, I'm going to block for point number 1. I'm going to block for step 2. I'm going to block for step 3. And I'm going to segment this out. Again, no right or wrong. It's what works for you. But what will not work for you is to go, oh, yeah, I'll do that next week. I know I will. You're not going to do it next week if that's where we just leave it, right? So be strategic, be smart. Don't expect to get all of this done at one time, I think is good. Let's set good expectations for ourselves. So it's not like, all right, I'm going to plan 5 hours next Friday afternoon to just knock all of this out. Because you're going to get tired. You're going to get burned out halfway through. You're not going to want to do it. And that's it. So think about you. Think about your, what's the term? Your circadian rhythm. We'll get real fancy on that. Have you ever heard of that, Danny? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Like
the first time I've ever heard it used in a webinar. So great job.
Yes, I win. That's my award for the day. But for those of you that don't, it's basically like, when do I peak during the day? We have peaks and valleys throughout our day. So our circadian rhythm is going, when am I kind of at my best? My wife, Lydia, goes, I do not work after 4 o'clock in the afternoon if I can help it, because I am coming down. Like she owns her own business, so she has the flexibility to do that. But she's like, I do not work my best at that. Where is she flying? 8:30, we've dropped the kids off. She's got a cup of coffee in her. She is cranking in the mornings. So that's her kind of rhythm of, she goes, I plan really important things at that kind of block of my day. So think through some of those sort of things. I did put some stuff up here, like the master list method, the Ivy Lee method, the most important thing method. Those are more just ways to kind of think through it. I'm not going to break all of those down because I don't think we necessarily need to today. But if they're interesting to you, write them down. We will send out this deck as well, these images to you. So if you want to reference them later, you'll get them with the recording email that we send out. But it's more of just different ways to kind of process, how do I organize it? The whole point here is just plan ahead. Don't expect it to just happen. It's not going to. Be smart. And I really like the idea, the kind of note there of making it bite-sized. That's how I function a little bit more, of not trying to be like, I'm going to do it all at once. Great. Let me kind of do these throughout the next week, 10 days, whatever, leading up to whatever holiday I celebrate, and kind of plan that out. Danny, do you have any thoughts or things to add to that?
Thanks, Kevin. I would also say too, this is a full season here. So if your database, if your recipients are getting a happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever that holiday is, they're getting every one of those. That might be a little too much. So know that you don't just have a week and a half here until Christmas to get these holiday messages out. The day after Christmas, you can start recording and scheduling your Happy New Year ones as well. And so feel free to kind of expand that list out to the multiple holidays in this time period. I also have been keeping an eye on the chat here too, and love the idea of sending messages on those off holidays when no one else is doing that. If you could find a good reason to reach out, or you're passionate about 4th of July or whatever that holiday is, great. Use that as, again, that absolutely great excuse to reach out to those individuals.
I would love it if I got like a random Arbor Day message from somebody every year. That would just
Oh,
bring me so much joy. I don't know why. Just like, man, I
right.
love Arbor Day, right?
Yes.
I think that's great. So yeah, to Danny's point there, this is not just for right now. These are lessons and things that you can rinse and repeat a couple times a year if you need to. But of course, the holidays is kind of a good opportunity to do that. So one, plan ahead is kind of first step on this. Two, and I think this is really important, narrow down. Now, a great word, kind of a trigger word for this would be segmentation. How many of you all look at your list and go, oh my gosh, I've got 500 people on my database, right? That feels overwhelming. That's why we go to one email. Great. I'll do one email and blast it out to all 500 people and be done with it. Here's what I want you to start to think about is I want you to narrow down your database of people, because one of the things I learned as I was talking with realtors, especially when I was in sales a couple of years ago, is that'd be, oh, I've got 600 people in my database. Great. That's awesome. How many of them have you talked to recently? How many of them do you really have relationship with? How many of you really worked with? Whatever that may be, right? And all of a sudden that number starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller. I think there's this idea of we want the biggest database possible because that feels like we've achieved something. It feels like we have more opportunity. But I want to kind of break that mentality and that concept down to, I want you to get down to a max of 30 people this holiday season. And you can choose how you want to find that. Maybe it's your top clients, the people that bought something from you or worked with you this year that really helped your business stay afloat this year. Take the top couple of those. Maybe it's just personal connections, people that you've gotten to know this year that mean a lot to you. Maybe it's business partners, people that you rely on to keep your business afloat. I know with mortgage lenders and realtors, I know I'm talking about that space a lot right now, but I think, great, if you're a realtor, who is your lender that you rely on to get the loans for the people to help you them buy homes? Think about those people that are integral to your business. Team members, if you've got an internal team that you want to work with, those could be great people to stop and spend a little bit of time on and let them know that you care. I love, and I will randomly get that stuff within BombBomb just from somebody who's like, hey, dude, I saw you were working on this project. I was thinking about you today. Just want to let you know I see that. It's great work. Those kind of things. It's amazing what that will do for somebody else to receive something like that. And then the other one that I want to challenge you on as well is who are some people that give you life? Maybe it has nothing to do with business. Maybe this fits a little bit more in those personal connections, but we also have to think about ourselves in this holiday season and who are people that I actually want to connect with. It's not to try and establish a relationship or maintain my touches like I'm supposed to do in my sales sequence. It's who are people that I would love to hear from? Who are people that would mean a lot if I was able to connect with in this holiday? So those are only 5. There's more ways to think about that, but a couple different ways to start thinking about people and narrow this down to a bite-sized chunk. Get it to, I wrote 30. There's not any science to the number of 30. So if you've got 35 or if you've got 20, that's totally fine. What I don't want you to try and do is reach out to 500 people. It's not achievable. It's not going to be successful in the plan that we're putting in place. So get that down to a list of people that feels manageable. And it really feels like your top 5% of people that you need to touch base with, the people that mean the most, that need to really feel that connection. You don't want this to start feeling like a chore and feeling like it's overwhelming. So I really want you to recommend thinking about that. Danny, are there any other buckets of people that you think about as far as like if I'm thinking about who's important for me to reach out to?
I don't think any buckets, but what I would say is, as a very relational person myself, sometimes it can feel almost emotionless to kind of top grade your database based on, what have they done for me this year, or whatever that is. And just keep in mind that relationships are built on reciprocity, that you're providing value, that they're receiving value from, and vice versa. So those top clients that maybe are standing out that you've put into that A bucket at the top of your list, that I definitely want to do a personal video to these individuals, but some of these others don't. It's because you're both providing value back and forth to each other, right? If they're a referral partner, it's because they're referring you because they know that they can trust you with the other relationships that they have. So keep that in mind, that it is not emotionless to look through that database and really start reaching out personally to some of those individuals that the relationship is strongest with.
And I think that's such a good point. And I hadn't honestly thought about that of like, oh gosh, it feels like we're almost picking favorites. It's like dodgeball in middle school again, right? Like, oh gosh, I don't want to be the last pick. But I think this is a really great opportunity of these are the people that feel I don't even want to use the word important, but feel impactful right now. If it's something to your point, Danny, of other holidays, maybe we pick a totally different group of 30 people at that time. And we're
Absolutely.
finding ways to connect with different groups at this time. It's not saying I like this person more than this person or whatever. It's just kind of diving into that reciprocity, that value that you're adding. And it feels like the important ones at this moment. So love that. Thank you for calling that out. All right, number 3 here, research. This is the easiest one for me to skip. So I really want to hone in on this. I want you to, once you've got your list of people, to not just be like, cool, boom, I'm going to start cranking videos out. Take a second and start to think about it. Now, some of these people, if they're personal connections, if they're people you've talked with recently, there may not be a ton of research done because you've been doing that over the course of whatever period of time. There may be some people where you're going, man, I've been meaning to reach out to them forever and I haven't for whatever reason. I'm not sure what's going on in their life right now. Guess what? We have a lot of options to figure some of those things out. So obviously, social media is a great, easy one. Hop on Facebook, hop on Instagram, hop on whatever. Look them up, look their family members up. Just spend 5 minutes looking up this person. And here's why I think this is really, really important is one, it's going to remind us why we're connecting with them. But two, I think we have to be really, really intentional with how we're communicating with people. I think about people that maybe are having a tougher time this year. If I reach out and I'm like, hey man, what a year. Holy cow, wasn't 2023 just wild and crazy and wonderful? I wanted to reach out and say hi because I was thinking about you. And then I find out, oh, they lost their job and their mom died that year. That's not going to be received particularly well, right? We have to be intentional in understanding what they've gone through, where they're at this year in order to communicate with them in a way that's going to be impactful to them. Now, if you don't know, that's okay. That's fine if you don't find anything. But I really think back to that human-centered approach, we need to stop and go, I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this to build connection. I'm doing this to start relationships, build conversations. I'm not going to do that if I'm not thinking about them or understand anything that's going on for them. When you're doing this stuff, Danny, are you mostly kind of relying on just your past communications, your past emails, what you've known from them over the course of the year? Or I mean, it's a little different when you're doing it in more of a business sense versus personal relationships, but what do you tend to lean on?
Absolutely. I mean, value and context is so important with any of this. So again, if you're doing your job, and this is hard to do in transactional settings. So any of you that are doing sales in a very transactional way, you're turning them over and moving on from that relationship very quickly. Kevin and I have both been in that situation in our careers as well, where we don't have this ability. So maybe a video that just kind of, highlights your personality or that quick relationship that you were able to build with more of that audience is totally fine. But again, what I'm doing is on the enterprise level, building these long-term relationships with and for BombBomb. And so I know these individuals generally, again, if I'm doing my job well, I know what they're already going through because I've been keeping up with that kind of stuff throughout the year.
Yeah. Which again, I think it's always best case scenario to be like, oh yeah, I've been intentional this year. We're always going to find times and hit spaces where we got busy with other stuff or got distracted or forgot and didn't do that. So don't be hard on yourself if you didn't. We have really, really good assets at our disposal where we can catch up on some of those things more quickly, right? From a transactional standpoint, a business standpoint, LinkedIn's a great resource, right? You don't want to reach out to a past client if they don't work for that company anymore. Cool. Hop on LinkedIn, look them up for 5 seconds and just see, oh yeah, I saw you're still working here or you've moved to here. Great. Now I have something to touch on and something to connect on to show that I've done. Honestly, that's a general just kind of sales rule is start to get to know who you're reaching out to. We've all received that generic sales email that was not meant for us, but it just put our name in it. These will not be that. Please don't make these that. So take the time, research it, find out who they are, what they've been going through, maybe just 1 or 2 things. Did they take a trip this year? Did their kid graduate school? Are their kids whatever? We all want to hear about ourselves and be lifted up in those ways. So take the literally 3 minutes. You can find something to address in one of these videos just by doing a little bit of research. So
Yeah.
step number 4 here is, of course, the video, right? We're a video company. That's what we're going to want you to do. Now, we could go into the depths of why video is more impactful, but I think really for me in this facet and what we're talking about and really reaching out, helping fight against that isolation that we talked about in that quote earlier, it's that we have to feel that connection with the human. It is hard to connect over text. It just is. If I'm reading black and white text, it is hard to get all of that. One, we lose the tone and empathy and all those pieces. But if I don't have what feels like eye contact, if I'm not seeing the person and all the nonverbal cues and those sort of things, I'm going to make assumptions on what I'm reading. Let's not leave it to chance. And we are going to use video to just reach out to them. Plus, I can record a 4-minute video way faster than I can type a couple paragraph thing trying to build connection, right? So there's a lot of reasons why it's impactful, but just spend the time recording the videos. Now, if you want a time block, this is going to be my video chunk. I've already done the research. I've already prepared things. I've taken notes, or maybe you're doing it one by one. That's totally fine. But just a couple things. I put some bullet points. You know, we don't give out scripts a lot, especially for something that's hyper personal like these are, of where I'm not going to tell you what to say. Quick greeting, right? A little bit of a note about what you found out about them. Hey, I saw that you took this trip this year. I saw that X, Y, and Z. I saw that you changed companies. Just wanted to touch base with you and just let you know how much I appreciated you this year, how much you've impacted me, and then be honest about how it's impacted you, right? Let them into kind of that space. And then Danny, I would love your feedback on this as well, thinking from a B2B standpoint of I like putting kind of a personal CTA at the end there because to me, that's what starts to build that deeper connection. And I just kind of typed out a basic thing of, I'm always here for the work questions, but I want you to know I'm here for the life stuff too. I'm here for those things. If you need somebody, let me know. I would love to grab coffee, would love to do those sort of things. I think that really ingrains a lot for business perspectives in the future in building the relationship and stuff. But how do you typically handle that when you're reaching out to, potential clients or people you've worked with in the past, Annie?
The more relationship that you can build outside of the transaction that you're working, the better that transaction will go as well, in my opinion. I think anyone in sales feels the same way with that. So it may be a bit dangerous in that example, Kevin, to offer your time. Hey, I'm here for the life stuff too. If you want to grab coffee and just talk about whatever, I'd love to do that with you. That can seem a little bit dangerous, but at the end of your career, or as you look back on the past year or whatever, what is it that's going to make you feel like you got the greatest satisfaction out of it? Was it simply getting the best commission, or was it watching people be successful and improve along the way as well? I would rather see the successes from individuals than simply going through a transaction to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And I think what's really powerful about this is understanding that the more you know them, the more intentional that video is going to be, the more deeper connection you're going to find. So Tom, I know you just chatted in that you're wanting some video ideas. I've got an example that I'm going to show you in just a second here after this one last step. Following up, I think this is an integral part to avoiding the check the box kind of mentality. Is really easy to be like, man, I did that. I sent a bunch of stuff out, and then we just kind of leave it, right? Never ask let's reference back to that CTA. If I'm here for the life stuff, if Danny replies back to my video and he's like, man, I really appreciate that. This has been a wild year at work. I would love to grab coffee. And then he never hears back from me. That is not an effective way to do that. We are now not building any deeper relationship. Now he's going to be angry that I did not reply to him, right? I set him up and he's going to feel like, well, man, I guess he doesn't really want to. I guess that was fake. And now we've created kind of a negative thing to it. So I think the follow-up is really, really important. Now, there's a couple different ways that I think BombBomb can really help you with this. I've seen a couple of things asking about tracking and some of those sort of pieces. There's several different ways to look at that and see that. Now, when you're sending one-to-one personal videos, oh my gosh, those insights are awesome. You're going to be able to see, did they watch my video? How much of the video, what percentage of the video did they watch? They can reply on your video page. They can like your video. You've got all sorts of different levels of how much did they interact with this. And what's cool is I saw some stuff in the Q&A of, can we share videos on Facebook? Can we share videos in different ways? Absolutely. Share this video where that person lives. We don't want to just try to force everybody back to their email inbox all the time. If somebody's never checking their emails, don't throw your video in there. It's going to be a mess in there and it's not going to get seen. So I'm huge about communicate where this person wants to communicate. Personalize that. It can be different for every single person, but you can copy the link from a BombBomb video and share it through Facebook Messenger. Send it to them there. Send it through LinkedIn Messenger. I've communicated with people in so many different ways, and you'll still be able to see, did they watch my video? Did they like my video? One of the places you can actually see that if you log into your BombBomb web app is in the Insights tab. A lot of people kind of see that that's there, but don't spend a lot of time looking at it. Now, this is just a test account, so there's not a ton of engagement on this, but I wanted to give you an example of what it looks like. You can see what percentage of the video was watched. Did they play it? Did they like it? If they did comment on your video page or something like that, you'll see their comment right here as well. And so this is a really, really cool avenue to come to and go, all right, who should I be following up with? Because this is how you start to set up your business for next year. This is how you start to be intentional and going, okay, these were really meant for personalization, for connection and those sort of things. But now I know who I'm going to start touching base with when it comes time to get back to some work stuff based on the way that they replied to those. So you can see this in your insights. The other place that I highly recommend is on your phone. For those of you that don't know, BombBomb does have a mobile app. It's included with your account. So log in, go to the Google Play Store or the App Store on your Apple phone. Your Apple phone. Who am I? What happened to my brain there for a second? On your iPhone, and get the BombBomb app. You'll log in with your same credentials that you have for BombBomb, and it's all connected. So it is really cool. It's good for a lot of reasons. If you have your central video library, you can record on one and have it on your other devices and things like that. But turn your notifications on your app. You will be notified live on your phone if somebody watches your video, if they've clicked play. Now, if you are sending them an email, guess what? You'll know if they opened your email. You'll know if they clicked any links. There's lots of different things that we track and information we give to you. And what I love about this is it's so easy when you're talking about tracking, when we're talking with people, to focus on the engagement that we didn't get, right? Oh, I sent out 30 videos and only 15 of them watched my video. Great. That is 15 people who just saw you, built connection with you that you can follow up with. And now it's helping you be really strategic and smart with your time. Whether that's now during the holiday season that you're following up, or maybe you wait till after the holidays, right? Maybe you follow up to do a quick, hey, thank you so much. Can't wait to touch base soon. Add them to your list to follow up with. But now you've got a direct kind of report with who you should be touching base with, who is actually engaged right now. And they're giving you realistic things on what you can follow up with. They will respond to what you said in the video. So the more you know about them, the more you build that trust, the better it helps you. How much are you using that stuff, Danny? I'm sure you've got your list of people of, I need to touch base with this person today. I know you've got all your kind of systems in place, but how much do you react when you see notifications or tracking or that sort of stuff come up?
Yeah, I always have push notifications turned on my phone so that no matter where I am, I can see who's engaging and what they're doing with my the things that I've sent. And the great thing about BombBomb too in that way is that it never expires. So I can see those notifications come up on emails that I've sent years ago as well, which is always fun to reach out in response to. Hey, did you just put play on a video I sent you 6 years ago? Well, how can I help at this point, right? Yeah, I like to do that. And I would also just say I use the mobile app also to record the videos sometimes, because as much as I've curated this background over years, it gets stale after a while. So if I can change it up and record that Merry Christmas in front of Pikes Peak or something here in Colorado, I'll do that to re-engage that audience.
Or even to that point, Eddie, of going, we don't want you to be stuck at your computer to have to do this process. So
Yeah,
great,
totally.
right? I mean, I know so many parents are sitting at sporting events for different things. What an awesome time to record a video or two. Hey, I'm at my son's hockey practice right now. That's another way they can connect. We don't know if they like hockey or not, right? These are just really simple. You can record it from your phone, send it from your phone, and you're killing two birds with one stone at that point. So it adds to that flexibility. So if you do not have the mobile app and you do have a BombBomb membership, go get it right now. It's super easy to find. Just go into the store, search BombBomb, and then you'll log in with whatever you created your BombBomb account with, whether that was a Google login or whatever login you did there. So just to kind of show you some of these things put into play, I wanted to show you an example here. This is from Laura Anderson, and Laura Anderson is a realtor. So for those of you looking for, I think somebody asked about mortgage examples or something like that. Same principles, right? Exact same process she's doing this. But what I love about Laura is, one, I've seen so many videos of her. I feel like she's like a friend of mine, and I've talked to her one time, right? But you build that rapport and that, and she also just has fun with it. And I think that is what is anybody that has seen her videos or she used to do videos with her late husband, Mark, as well. And they were just so fun. They were just themselves. There was nothing put on it. It was just them being them. So I'm going to skip a little bit as we get into it, just so you're getting kind of the meat and potatoes of it. But I wanted you to see an example of what just these quick personal videos can look like.
Hey, good morning, Tina. Laura here with my fun little thing on from Christmas. And I'm going to sing you a Christmas song. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you...
All right, I'm not going to make you guys listen to the whole song because she actually plays a lot of it. I was impressed. But we'll skip to the end here, and I want you to hear the message she talks about after it as well.
And a Happy New Year. Not bad. Hope that you have an wonderful, I was going to say awesome, but I use that word too much, a wonderful, stupendous, outstanding Christmas holiday with family, friends, whoever, dogs, and that your coming 2018 is filled with abundance, great health, prosperity in all things. One last thing.
So she goes on and talks a little bit more about their kind of personal relationships. So I won't make you listen to all of that sort of stuff. But obviously you can see this video is 6 years old, right? She recorded this in 2017 or whatever. And the principles are still there 100%. She did these and she played the ukulele and sang for a bunch of different clients at the time. And she was like, the number one response was, I never knew you played the ukulele. That's so cool. Like she was getting responses like that. And it's just because she let them in. She let them into her world. She built the connection with them and she just made it really, really personal for them. So hopefully that gives you some examples, a quick example of.
Hey, good morning, Tina. Laura here.
Now, here's something that I want to give back to you guys so that you don't have to remember this. We are going to send this out with the follow-up email here. And it's literally our holiday video blueprint. So you actually can check some boxes while you're doing it. So I'm going to send this to you in a PDF. It will be included in the email with the recording, with the slide decks. You'll be able to review all the stuff we talked about. But I didn't want you to forget. I want you to have something that you could, if you want to print it out, if you're that type of person, you can do that. Otherwise, you can just have it on your computer and use it as a, oh yeah, here's the kind of steps that we want to do. So we're just scheduling, we're planning ahead, we're narrowing down our list, we're doing a little bit of research on each person, recording and sending those, and then we're doing the follow-up. We're just keeping eyes on the tracking, the insights, the notifications, those sort of things. I loved this quote, and I actually have one more quote I'm going to share with you guys in a little bit that I'll leave you with, but our actions are guaranteed to affect others because we are not alone in this world. Much of our learning about ourselves comes from the interaction with others. Our relationships are our teachers. We learn from each other. I think it's just so great to think about that in such a deeper concept of this is not just to touch base with my clients. This is to build connection. It's to be there for the people that are feeling isolation, that are feeling lonely, or heck, maybe they're having a great holidays and you can be a part of that and you can add to that. And also, we get to learn from our clients in that relationship and giving that energy and expectation. We get to learn from them as well. So, Danny, I saw you kind of smile there. What was did it trigger a thought in your brain?
I'm just looking at some of the comments here, and number one, it's quality over quantity all the time. That's regardless of if this is a holiday reason to reach out or value driven throughout the year. Quality over quantity. And yes, Jonathan, I love actually the thought of Laura recording 30 of those while someone next to her is trying to get work done as well. That actually keeps me thinking about this longer. Like you are doing everything that she didn't necessarily anticipate everyone thinking about, but that she keeps running through your head. And how did she do that? What was she doing? Why did she do that? What about the person next to her? Like that's exactly what you want instead of getting that Christmas card, opening up and be like, huh, and moving on, not thinking about it again. So love it. Also, Ariel, yes, I agree. Maybe that wouldn't be the right approach in Miami, but you're thinking of it in all the right ways. Do it the Miami way, right? Make that message fitting to the audience you're sending out to, whether it is one person or millions. Sit on the beach and say, I'm glad we live in a warm place. Happy holidays, right? Like that is what builds that relationship around those common things that you all share in the experiences of. Love it.
So glad you touched on that and that you were keeping up with that, because as soon as I saw yours, I think That's a great point, Ariel, for you to point out. I am not sitting here telling any of you to go learn the ukulele and send Christmas songs to people. That is not the point of that video example. The point is she was being herself. She was being what connects with her people and she was letting them into her life. That's not you. That would not be effective for you to try and fake and send out in these videos. So, Ariel, yeah, you do what makes sense for you. If that's, I mean, if I was in Miami, I'd want to be at the beach all the time because I love Miami. But find those things because that's really you giving your clients and then the people you're reaching out to more understanding that you thought about this and you're being intentional and you're connecting with them on what's going to work. And maybe it's different for every person, right? You don't have to do the same video for every person. Maybe you have one person who you have a running joke about something and you do a funny video for that person in that. Be intentional with that. I think it's really, really cool. So I want to give you a little bit of a teaser and then want to leave a few minutes for some Q&A stuff, but we're already coming up on the end of the hour here. So next month, we've already got our deep dive kind of planned out a little bit. And we're talking about beyond resolutions, right? Actually building a little bit of a plan. And I love the term video resilience. As I was starting to research and find this, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, right? So for those of you that set New Year's resolutions or goals at the beginning of the year and then forget them by February, this could be a great webinar for you because we're going to talk through how to actually put some of that stuff, build those habits. Whether it's you want to achieve more with video, you want video to be a goal itself, or you want to use video to achieve bigger goals, right? You want it to be a part of a goal. We're going to talk about all of that sort of stuff, which is there. Last thing, and then we'll jump into some questions. First off, thank you, Kelsey. I know you've been killing it with answering questions and things, so thank you for all of that. My wife and I were watching It's a Wonderful Life the other night. I think most of us know that with Jimmy Stewart. And so wonderful. I haven't watched it in years. And I had already done a lot of the planning for this. And all of a sudden we get to the end and he reads the quote that Clarence, his little angel, leaves for him in the book. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, that's just too good to not touch on what we're talking about here. And this is literally a snapshot from the movie. And it says, Dear George, remember, no man is a failure who has friends. And I think to me, that sums up everything that I want you to walk away from in this is not only having a plan for it, but ultimately it's about building those deeper connections. I think people are yearning for that right now. I think people want that. I think there is a nervousness of how do I find that? I remember when I became an adult, whenever that happened, of going like, how do I meet people in an adult world? Like, how does this happen? I don't know. It's intimidating. Guess what? We have the opportunity to take that and build connection and build those friendships. And I just thought this was really, really wonderful. So in that same vein, thank you from all of us here at BombBomb. These are actual employees here at BombBomb. I went and found some pictures and threw them on there. We cannot tell you how much you all mean to us. I hear it all the time, but this has been a wild year for a lot of companies, for BombBomb, for a lot of people. And what we always come back to and what we always lean into is it is worth it for all of you because we value you so much. We feel so connected to all of you. So if you need to jump off, I want that to be what I leave you with is that you mean something to all of us here at BombBomb. I don't use the term BombBomb family lightly. We really believe that this is a family. Laura Anderson, that example I showed you, I've had some amazing conversations over the last few months with her when she lost her husband. Her husband passed away. And she goes into her BombBomb account to watch videos of him again. He lives on through that. And we got to know them because we've met them and they started using our product. So know that all of you mean a lot for us. So we will be sending out that follow-up email in the next few days here. It'll have the recording in it. It'll have the PDF of the slides and things so you can revert to those. And it's also going to have that blueprint for you so that you'll have that to kind of use as a reference as you start working through these. But really, I want to challenge all of you to follow through and do this. I think this would be a really, really impactful thing that you would be shocked at some of the responses you're going to get when you actually go through some of these steps and do some of those sort of pieces. So, Danny, do you have anything to add to that? I'm going to peek in the Q&A and see if there's any questions or anything. But
yeah, I just want to stress what Kevin said. We are really grateful for our clients with BombBomb. Man, you all support 6 members of a household here by using BombBomb, and I hope that we are reciprocating that by helping you all be successful through video. So just let us know what we can do to make sure that you continue to be successful because it helps us be successful too.
On that note, let's see if we can answer a few questions here. For those of you that want to stick around, yes, again, just to reiterate, I see a few more chats and questions. You will absolutely get a recording of this in a few days here. We'll send you an email kind of following up that. One of the questions was around tracking and around this concept of when you send a video through a social media, if you do the copy link and you're sending that out to a bunch of people, our tracking will respond with someone watched your video or someone liked this video. Danny, do you have a good way that you speak to your clients on how we do that? I've got kind of the way that I explain it, but I'd be really curious. How do you usually kind of talk through why that functions that way?
Yeah, in open tracking engagement is really hard for any company. It's not just BombBomb. It is every company. We are at the mercies, the whims of what that inbox calls an open. And the someone piece to all of that can be difficult, yes, but if it's just a matter of I have nearly 26,000 videos in my BombBomb account because as a salesperson, again, it is quality over quantity. I want to make sure that I am reaching out personally to that individual's needs within whatever that last conversation may have been. So if it's a large enterprise partnership that I'm working on and there were 10 people on that call, I'm going to do my best to send a personal video to every one of those individuals. So that number one, I'm building the relationship with them personally. But number two, I can get the tracking around that too, and I can continue to follow up with what that message was to them personally. Also, it's okay sometimes if it does say someone. If I sent a video, let's say via text, because I know that that's the way Kevin's going to engage in my videos, but I've named the video Merry Christmas, Kevin, and I see on my phone Merry Christmas, Kevin was just played by someone. It was Kevin. So I can follow up regarding that too. Yeah, there's easy ways around that. I know it can sometimes be a little bit annoying to not get the specific individual, but in that case, send it directly out of the BombBomb web platform. If we're sending that email on behalf of your email address, we can tell you whether that was a list of 1 or 3,000 individuals, what each of those individuals are doing with your email.
Yeah, so I think those are all really, really great tips to kind of work through this. And we know if this was something we could change literally right now, we would do it in an instant. The hard part is when you are sending our videos through a lot of other platforms, we don't have control over what those platforms are going to allow us to see, right? So if you share something through Facebook Messenger, our tracking stuff cannot tell who you shared that to. Now, we have a lot of these pieces in place. If somebody comments on your video page when they're watching your video, there is an option for them to type their name in with their comment so that they can kind of control that and do some of those sort of things. So we have put a lot of pieces in place. I understand that can be a little bit frustrating, but some of those strategies that Danny talked through, I think are really, really helpful in that regard. Really, the only other kind of main question I see sitting in the question is cutting and slicing videos so you can kind of tape in chunks. As of right now, Dan, that is not something that's currently available in our system. The reason being is we have found over the years with our research that the more raw and just kind of real a video is, the better it's received from people, the more engaged with it is. As soon as we start seeing cuts and edits and those sort of things, it starts to feel almost like a commercial or something that was highly produced, and it feels less personal to us. So that's why we've held off for a very, very long time. Now, the caveat to that is we do have trimming in BombBomb as well. Kelsey, if you're able to potentially grab maybe a knowledge base article on trimming and share that in the chat, that would be great. But essentially what that allows you to do is if you've recorded a video and you maybe messed up a little at the beginning or you messed up the end, you can go in and kind of trim off those chunks of the video. It's not going to allow you to cut throughout, but it will allow you to kind of edit those as you go. So again, it's not going to be able to record certain chunks and reuse those for different people, but it does allow you to kind of edit the beginning and the end of the video. So just know that that's there and know that the cutting and splicing and those sort of things are big conversations around here. We are talking about those a lot. I'm not going to promise or commit to anything because I am not the one that makes those decisions, but those are conversations. We do hear you that is something that people are wanting. So I think that's most of it. It's 11:04. let's get you out of here and on with your holiday stuff. So first thing, as soon as we close this webinar, hop over, plan something out in your calendar, lock it down so that you can start working through this blueprint. Keep your eyes open for the follow-up email that'll have all the resources, the links, that PDF, the recording, all of those sort of pieces in it. And last but not least, Danny, thanks, man. I really, really appreciate you being here and throwing all that value in just from being on the front lines every day. So thank you for everything that you have done for BombBomb, have done for our clients, and have done here today. I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks for including me in this. It was fun, and I appreciate you.
You're all amazing. Have a wonderful holiday season. We will see you in January of 2024, which feels wild to say, but have a great, safe month. Enjoy the people around you and just soak it all up, okay? Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.